Recording will start now.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're good. Okay.
Hi. Yeah, I am Ria Mehta. I'm the president of the Empower Club. At Empower, our goal is to inspire and enable women in technology and various other fields. Our intention is to know successful women in their fields and learn from their journeys, challenges they encountered, how they overcame those challenges, and lessons learned along the way. Today, we have the honor of welcoming Miss Kendra Brown. She is a mother, a seasoned professional, and a highly esteemed employee of Ernst& Young for many years. Kendra is known for collaborative spirit, exceptional communication skills, and her genuine passion for empowering teams. Whether you're an aspiring analyst seeking guidance or a seasoned professional looking for fresh perspectives, she is here to inspire, educate, and engage us all. We are excited to know her journey, challenges, and aspirations as a woman in IT. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Miss Kendra Brown. Welcome, and it is lovely to have you.
Hi, thank you. And I'm so happy to be here with you.
Okay, so without further ado, let's just jump into the questions.
Okay.
So, starting off strong, what are
Mhm.
some of your personal experiences or reasons that motivated you to pursue a career in IT?
So for me, it wasn't the traditional path. What got me into IT is that I started as a single mother and I was struggling to find steady employment where I could grow and um, and continue to learn and build a really esteemed career. And I didn't know what to do. I was working for a physicians management company at that time. And this was many, many years ago, back in 1995. And working with the physicians management company, what we did was, well, what I did was the credentialing of the physicians, all of his licenses, his any articles, and just anything pertaining to him to make sure that all of those things were up to date. However, there was a software that they were using in the office, and no one knew how to really use it. They didn't understand it. So I was asked to, can you write a little training brochure, a little training guide to help these other people in the office? And that's what I did. I went through the application and wrote down all of the steps and everything that I had to do on a day to day to navigate through the application. And I didn't know that that had a name to it. I would because that wasn't my role, but that's what I did. Um, so I started there, and that became a thing. Well, that wasn't really paying me the money that I needed to sustain my family. So I ended up looking for certifications or things that I could do to help boost that. So at that time, web design was a big thing. So I decided to go get a certification in web design, which I did. However, I couldn't find a job. So it's one thing to get into it because this is what you really want to do. I got into it because that's what I needed to do to be able to have a sustainable career so that I can take care of me and my son. So my path was completely different. And even with that, you just need, you can get the certifications and the degrees, but somebody has to open the door for you to come in, right? Like somebody has to give you that chance. And that's what kicked it off for me. I got the certification in web design. At that time, we were coding manually. So it was just, you had to just manually code. It wasn't these programs now that write the HTML code. We had to learn it um, manually. So those things, it was good. I got my first job at IBM, and that kicked off my career. So they gave me an opportunity as a contractor, and it was for a technical writer. So all of the work that I had been doing at the physician's office was actually a technical writer role. I didn't know that, but then that's what it was, and that's how it started. And it just grew from there. But that first opportunity in technology and working in IT, that gave me the boost and the confidence and to learn more that I could add to my resume and just continue to build on that. So, and that's what I did, and that's how I got started. But again, it wasn't out of this is what I wanted to do because I had a passion for technology. It was bred out of a need because I was in a place financially where I was struggling to take care of my son, and I didn't want to be in that place. I didn't want that to be my life. So, and I knew I could do more. I wanted more. So that's what started. That's how I got started in IT.
Yeah, I think that's really great. It's like a different kind of path. It's a little
Yes,
unconventional, but hey, I mean, you're here now. So,
absolutely.
yeah. So, moving on, have you drawn any professional inspiration from other women in the field? Can you tell us about someone who has inspired you?
Well, I'm going to go down the traditional path. With, of course, I looked at women like Oprah Winfrey, for instance. That's one. She had so many adversities in her past that she didn't let those things keep her from pushing through to her goals and her dreams and to do the things that so many people counted her out for, right? So regardless what happened in her past or what how she was raised and the things that happened to her, she didn't let that stop her or prevent her from still moving forward and being able to accomplish so much. The philanthropy that she does, the focus on education and the communities and improving others and always encouraging people to do more, pursue your dreams, keep going, don't give up, don't stop. Those are things that I got from her. And to see, especially another minority woman, a Black woman, to be able to achieve so much in a space that wasn't created for her, right? That was very admirable for me. The other person is, of course, Michelle Obama. Now, I look at her as, of course, our former First Lady, the first Black um, First Lady of the United States. She had some challenges as well. Very smart, always had, certain goals and certain dreams that she wanted to aspire to, even when her previous educators told her, well, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't want to go to Princeton. You shouldn't want to go into law, and you shouldn't want to do all of that. Just settle for this. You don't need to think about this higher level of, achievement. So not listening to that. And what I learned from that is not listen to the naysayers and the people that try to count you out or doubt you that you can achieve something, because if you put your mind to it and you work hard, and I know that's cliche, people are like, oh, just work hard, but it's really true. You do have to put the work in. You have to put the time in. There's no shortcuts to this thing, right? But you don't listen to those people that tell you or count you out. You have to really just focus on your goals and your dreams. And if it's something that you're passionate about, keep going. Don't let that stop you, because out of those two examples, those women have achieved greatness that is usually not reserved for us and people that look like me.
Yeah, I think overall that's really inspirational. And I think that
Mhm.
anyone in any space or any field can obviously take this
Right.
as an inspiration, as a guide. There's no shortcut to hard work, as you said. But yeah, so let's go a little deeper into the IT field specifically. So, what is one thing that you wish you had known earlier about women and work in your career?
What I will say is that I didn't know the struggles that I would be faced with. Nobody could have prepared me for that. Because remember, this is back some years back. I started in 1995. So this was many years, back in 1995 is when I was working for the physician's office, and getting to IBM, that was around 2000. So I would say nobody prepared me for the the differences, right? In a space, even when women were present at that time, I didn't have support from those women. And I think it could have been just because there was not a safe space for women in a male dominated environment. And there was no support, and not all, but for a lot of it, there was not support there at that time. And I think because women didn't know how to support each other in a space because everybody was just trying to survive. The women were trying to stay above water. The women that were in technology space, a lot of times they weren't in the same roles that I was in. So it was very different. And I felt alone. I felt isolated. And nobody prepared me for the biases that I would be faced with. Not only am I, a woman in this male dominated space, I'm a Black woman. And so being ignored or your voice not heard, these were real challenges. Um, Trying to still juggle family, having the responsibilities at work, long hours, and still needing to be present for my son. It was a huge challenge. And at that time, no one talked about work-life balance. It was just you go to work and you still got to do whatever it is that you got to do when you get home. So it looked very different for me. And I think that that's one thing that I didn't know that it would be challenging. I'm grateful for these experiences because now I know and I could help someone else or the next group of women coming up in technology. And the space and the environment has changed significantly. Like I said, again, this was some years back. So times have changed and there's a lot more support now from employers for, across the board. So, but at that time I didn't know. And it was a very lonely space being a woman in technology. And I didn't know how to process that mentally. It was hard. So, but you just had to continue to push through. And I think just having a safe space for women, I wish that was available to me back then, but we have those spaces now and they're critical and I think they're important.
Yeah, I think that's really great. It's also really great that you acknowledge that there's like a vast difference in what the industry was back then versus back now or
Yes.
versus now. So yeah,
Hmm.
let's go into that a little deeper. You
Hmm.
mentioned before that in 1995 you had to code HTML manually, but now it's like, all software based. The software will do it for you. So how do you stay updated with the latest trends and advancements in technology?
You know, so one of the things that I do, I continue to attend, there's like conferences, whether they're online or in person sometimes, if I can make myself available to do that. Um, there's courses. You still have to be engaged in technology. I mean, it's never going to be a time where you can just be idle or think that, well, I know this, I don't have to learn anything else. That's never going to be the case because things are constantly changing in that space. For me, I take courses when I can. Of course, my employer offers all kinds of courses to help us and to help you get that knowledge that will help you get to the next level if that's what you choose to do. But outside of the employer, I listen to podcasts, I read books, I just keep in tune to different tech sites that I subscribe to, that I'm always trying to keep myself engaged. And sometimes, it gets a little bit overwhelming because you may start in one space in technology, and because those things are changing and going into a different direction, now you feel like you got to learn something else. For someone that has been in the industry for so many years, it still doesn't stop for me. I still have to continue to learn. I still have to um, find that time and that space to create that learning that I need to continue to be marketable, right? Because I mean, things are changing and we have to continue to change with technology. So yeah, a different podcast, different conferences, subscriptions, books, all of those things are important. Classes, that I may see within my city, as well as those within my job. So I just try to take advantage when I can. I don't take advantage of everything at one time, but if there's something that I feel like is that may be similar to what I already know, but some areas that may have changed, or if there's a new technology that I did not know and I feel like it's going to be beneficial to me where I can add value, then that is something that I would take advantage of as well.
Yeah, I think that's great. So it's kind of like as the industry grows, you kind of that sort of
Yes.
thing. So yeah, that makes sense. Um, yeah, again, focusing on the industry, have you
Yes.
ever faced any sort of gender bias or stereotypes within the workplace? And if so, how did you go about handling it?
I did. I did. And speaking about it a little bit earlier, but there was a lot of gender bias, again, being a Black woman in an industry that's predominantly white males. Um, there was many times that I wasn't included. Even in meetings, I can be, because at the time we weren't working remotely, we were in the office. I may be the only woman in a meeting with a conference room full of men. And not having your voice heard, or when you're speaking from experience and you're interjecting and you're adding, recommendations and suggestions, not being heard, overlooked. Those are things that was very hard. And I specifically remember uh, one of my one of the contracts that I was looking for. I really, really, really wanted this opportunity. And I talked to this person over the phone first. We had a wonderful conversation. Like we talked like we were old friends, but the experience, the conversation flowed, the questions that they asked, everything was great. When I went in to meet this person face to face, you would have thought they saw a ghost. And the look of disappointment and the frown. I mean, he didn't hide it at that point. When he saw me, and I knew what it was because at that point I was told the position was no longer available. And it that's the one that stung the most. And it bothered me and I couldn't shake it for a while because I really needed that job. But I moved on. Um, but these are real things that happen, and I think sometimes um, we can say that it doesn't happen. It may not happen as often, but sometimes it does. And this was just a few years ago. This was still in the 2000s when this happened to me. Um, but we overcome these things. We still move on because I looked at it as this wasn't the position for me. No matter how my heart was in it, that wasn't where I needed to be at that time. So I've been in, on positions where I wasn't included for team outings, team lunches, um, the entire just social network afterwards. The biases of just being a female, them thinking that I don't know what I'm talking about, or I don't know enough about the product, or know enough about the application. So I always felt like I had to work harder, like I put extra time in. I was always made myself available for my team, always made myself available to help where I could, making sure that I was learning everything that there was about the application, the system, or whatever it was, so that they could never question or challenge my experience or my knowledge. So it was hard, having all of these things compounded because it was a very lonely space at that time. And I don't want people to look at this and view it as a negative experience. It was a learning experience, right? So I learned these things. I learned how to come out of that and not initially, yeah, I took it personally. But then I had to just like, you know what? I'm not going to let that or their behavior towards me stop me or limit me. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep going. So I kept showing up because I think, sometimes you don't want to give people that. I don't want to stop showing up just because they are treating me differently, or I wasn't looking to make friends. I was looking to do my job, So and that's what I did. I dedicated myself 100% to my job, and to the work that I was doing. And when I got off work, I was around and surrounded by people and my friends who supported me, and we supported each other. So I didn't need that group of people to validate my work, my knowledge, my experience, or invite me to places outside of the work hours, you know. But you do want to feel, like you're a team because we have to work together. And at the end of the day, we have one common goal is to make sure that we're all successful, right? So that's what I kept at the forefront of my mind is to make sure that I'm teaming and that I'm supporting my team. They may not want my support, they may not ask for my help, but I'm available. And where I can assist, I will always assist. And I just kept working towards that, because at the end of the day, I want to be successful. If someone else is about to drop the ball, and if I can step in and help, let me help. Because at the end of the day, we're all going to be looked at collectively. And I want to make sure that we all win together. So I had to keep that mentality and that positive attitude and not let the negative parts of that drive me. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's really great advice. Obviously, it's important to just focus on the end goal and see
mhm,
how far you can get, right?
exactly,
So,
exactly.
yeah. So previously you spoke a lot about having like a work-life balance and how that
Mhm,
wasn't really spoken about a lot at the
mhm.
time when you first joined the industry. So
Right.
right now, how do you maintain a good work-life balance in a demanding field like IT? And what
Yeah.
support do you think organizations should provide to help employees achieve the balance?
Now I take breaks. I take mental breaks. Like, so during my work day, I think it's important to take a mental break. And for one, because we're constantly on the computer all day from sunup to sundown. And sometimes when I feel myself getting, I feel a lag. And if something, it helps sometimes when you have a lot going on. Projects can be extensive. There can be a lot of churn going on within a project team, a lot of things happening. Sometimes you have to break away from that, just step away for a little bit, because I may not have a clear mind or a clear space to really think about what's happening and how I need to resolve whatever that is or whatever the approach is going to be, or even when it comes to writing, I may not have that immediately.
Yeah.
And sometimes it helps to take a break and step away. And for me, I have three dogs. So I have, um, well, almost four, but I have two pit bulls and a Yorkie, two pit bulls that I rescued. I take them out for a walk. I do. I take them out. And sometimes, even if I don't take them out for a walk in that moment, sometimes just sitting on the couch and they come up to me, I can forget about whatever that stressful meeting was or whatever that issue is. And I decompress. I make time for my family. I make time I can be tired, but if there's something that I know that I haven't spent this time with my family over the weekend, I'm going to make sure that we're spending that time together.
Yeah.
Of course, for me, my son is an adult now, so and he lives in another state. So, but I do make time to visit as well as with my family back in Birmingham. I go work out. I do the things that I enjoy, that I literally get enjoyment from. If it's working out and exercising, going for a swim, walking my dogs, I take time away from the computer. I take time to step away from work
Yeah.
because if I'm not operating in a space where I'm mentally and emotionally recharged, I can't be any good on my job, right? I
Yeah.
have to be with and engaged with the people that I love and the people that love me. And I have to give that time. I have to do that. And I think now that companies are realizing, not just from the pandemic, they started to realize it before the pandemic, but I think even more so during the time of the pandemic. Now we have a lot of programs, and I think it's important to focus on our mental health, our emotional health, as well as our physical health. Making sure that we're eating right, that we're taking care of our bodies. All of that matters. All of those different things matter, and we have to pay attention to signs that our bodies give us. If
Yeah.
we need rest, we need to rest. I mean, there's been many times that I've been so busy throughout the day, I may not eat lunch. And at this time, it's not even lunch. I may not eat my first meal until 4 o'clock. And that's not good. So we have to learn to prioritize our health and our mental health, our physical health, all of that, and take the time that we need to spend with our families. Because, what I know for sure is if something happens to me and I can't be available, I can't work, they're going to go to the next person. The work is still going to move. The train keeps moving, it doesn't stop. So we don't want to give so much of ourselves that we lose what's important to us. So finding that time, and companies are realizing that they have programs um, that employees can take a part of. I know that we do it at EY. We have those programs. And I think it was the best thing that they ever did. And they do check-ins, so you may get a check-in. How are you feeling? How are you doing? Even within, teams, check on each other, make sure that we're okay, offer assistance where you can. So I think those things help.
Yeah, I think that's great, especially with like, companies realizing this too. So I think that's awesome. Speaking of like, emotional and mental health, have you
Mhm.
ever considered leaving the IT industry due to challenges or frustrations? And if so, what factors influence your decision to stay?
Many, many, many times. I have, and I'm making light of it, but it's true. I did many times because, again, I've been in it for so many years, and I didn't want to feel like I was losing. Like, where's my passion, right? What is not just in IT, because I do have a passion for it. I do love it, but that's not who I am. That's not all of who I am. So, am I ever going to get to experience something different? Am I ever going to be able to do some other things? And then when I realized that I could, I just had to hold space for that. Then I was like, okay, I can still do what I enjoy within IT and make a difference and add value in this space. But I can also do something that I really love and enjoy over here too. So I learned to not limit myself.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that I'm able to, and it can be tight sometimes, but it gives me the opportunity to not feel like I'm only good for IT.
Yeah.
This consumes me. I don't want it to ever consume me because I love it and I enjoy it, but there's other things that I get to do as well. So I think that's what drove me to, okay, I can still do these other things and then I can stay and do what I love in IT. Um,
Yeah.
so that was what worked for me. And I encourage it. Like you don't have to. There's a lot of people that I know that don't just do one thing. Not as a career, but I'm just saying you can do that, but you can have other passions as well. And
Yeah.
that's what I end up doing. I mean, I love to volunteer. I volunteer with a lot of organizations throughout the city in different lines of business. I've sat on boards and those things are time consuming as well, but it took
Yeah.
me out of that tech space so I could see another side of business. I can see another side of networking and meeting people in other lines of business and talking to them and learning other things. That's how I feel like that's a well-rounded um those are well-rounded activities, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's what I enjoy doing. So I don't feel lost. I never wanted to feel lost in technology, and in being able to participate in these other things allowed me that space to do so.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think it's really just all about time management. It really seems to
Yes,
be key. Yeah.
absolutely.
So, yeah, finally, it's just to close off our interview. What would
Mhm.
you tell young women who are just starting to work in this field? What would you like them to know?
I would like them to know to one to keep going. Um, I don't ever want to be that person that is not going to encourage the next woman or the next young girl coming up. I want them to know if you have a passion for something, whether it's IT and technology, go for it. Don't let anybody limit you. to what you can do, what you can learn, how you can do it. Don't let anyone make you feel like you're not good enough. Go in those spaces, own it, and if there's something that you need help with, speak up. Don't be afraid to speak up and ask for help.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to voice your concerns. Don't let anyone try to silence your voice in this space. Keep
Yeah.
going. And, I think that it's important for any woman, any young woman coming into the space to have a mentor.
Yeah.
Have someone
Definitely.
that, yeah, have someone that you can talk with, you can call, and it doesn't have to be in a formal setting, but that you can have a real conversation with. Because when things get challenging, life starts lifing, things start happening. You want somebody that's going to be able to understand what you're going through, the challenges that you're experiencing, and be able to have a listening ear and be able to be supportive in that time, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's important. A lot of companies are now, they have like different organizations for women. Participate in those things. If there's organizations within the tech space for women, some are geared towards like some of the younger women that may be freshly out of college. And then some companies have some organizations. Get involved, participate. I think that those things will help ground you and help propel you to the next level as well. But don't
Yeah.
let anybody stop you. Don't let anybody try to discourage you. Don't listen to that. If you get into a period where you're dealing with challenges in the office, take a step back, regroup, talk to that mentor, or if you have a close friend or someone that you trust, but then know who you are, what you have to offer, the value that you bring. Stay true to that and give yourself some grace. We all have to give ourselves grace and
Yeah.
keep going. Don't stop. Just don't stop. Don't quit.
Yeah, I think that's really great advice. That's a really nice way to conclude our interview. Once again, I wanted to say thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time, on behalf of Empower Club as well. Thank you
Absolutely.
for being here. We appreciate all the great advice that you've given us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank